our September Commissioners meeting to order. This time we would ask everybody to rise and mark the man's if you is and take the flag, please, after which we'll have a moment of silence for those who desire to participate.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes of our last meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, David. I'll second the motion. Thank you, John. David made a motion and John seconded to approve the minutes of our September 7th Commissioners meeting. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous? Thank you. First on our agenda is bids on the courthouse street project, and that has been postponed till September the 29th at 4 o'clock. We'll let you know more about that later date. Mr. Engler is here, so we'll let you come up, Mr. Engler, and tell us why you're here.
Well, gentlemen, the last time I was here, I was had a complaint about the property tax appeal process. And thank you, John. You're the one that said that. You want to go through that thing, come back, see it, tell us how it
Just sit
went.
down, sir.
Okay, let me give you, everybody, a little set of notes here, just kind of help you out.
Thank you.
Help me. And I don't really kind of know where to go with what I want to do, but what I'd like to do is, first off, I went through my appeal process, and I am ever more convinced today than I was the day I stood here before you guys last time that there's a problem in our county about people being informed about their rights, and a problem at the Ptboa court of the fact that citizens' rights are not being defended. Either I have, it's just me having a problem, or there's several others out there that have a problem. If you look at this, this is a, and I'm not sure last time if I went over this code, but I carried this code to the Ptboa court the first time I went to that, and said, hey guys, I don't understand what's going on, I'm having a problem here. When I read this, what I'm going through doesn't resemble what the law says should happen, okay? And of course, the first thing I highlight up there, it says the taxpayer may obtain a review by the county board of, by a board of the county or township officials. So that's saying, hey, you have a right to a thing. The notice to obtain a review, you got to get that in at a certain time, in 10 days, or excuse me, by May 10th or 45 days after you receive your bill. Okay, then it goes on down to says the written notice filed by the taxpayer under subsection C or D must include the following information. So here it tells me the information that I have to give the assessor, to initiate a review. Okay, so I do that, and then it goes down and it says, the name of the taxpayer, the address and parcel and the key number of the property, the address, telephone number of the taxpayer. The filing notice under subsection C or D initiates a review under this section and constitutes a request by the taxpayer for a preliminary and formal meeting with the official referred to in subsection A, referring to the county assessor. Okay? So right there it tells me that when I file that notice, then that tells the county assessor, hey, we're supposed to have a meeting. Okay? Am I understanding that correctly? And Tom, I would just assume you read through this thing and tell me what the law says, because, you're a lawyer, but that's what I understand that to say. Okay? Okay, it says a county or township official who receives the notice for review filed by a taxpayer under subsection C or D shall. Now, my understanding and doing a little research here, the term must and shall means that you're supposed to do it, not that you may or may not. It means that you're supposed to do it. Okay? It says immediately forward the notice to the county board, and a attempt to hold a preliminary informal meeting with the taxpayer to resolve as many issues as possible by, number one, discussing the specifics of the taxpayer's assessment and deductions. Discussing the specifics of my assessment. Reviewing the taxpayer's property card. Explaining to the taxpayer how the assessment or deduction was determined. Providing the taxpayer with information about the statutes, rules, and guidelines that govern the determination of the assessment or deduction. Noting, considering the objections of the taxpayer, considering all errors alleged by the taxpayer and the taxpayer's assessment or deductions. And it goes on down here. It gives you a list of things that's supposed to happen. Gentlemen, that never happened for me as a taxpayer with my county assessor on, I guess I'm through 3 appeals now. 2 different properties, 2 different years. Never happened. In fact, when I asked Jason about the preliminary meeting, he said, oh, we usually don't have those things. You know, you just go right on to the board. In fact, and then, after I visited the last meeting, there was an article come out in the paper that Jason responded to my last meeting. I think he said that he had more than 10 meetings with me, preliminary informational meetings, or informal meetings with me, in the article there. But if we read on down here, it says that no later than 10 days after the informal preliminary meeting, the official referred to in subsection shall forward to the county auditor and the county board, the results of the conference on a form prescribed by the Department of Local Government and Finance that must be completed and signed by the taxpayer and the official. So he's supposed to keep a record of that meeting that we just had and everything that went on in that thing. And I'm supposed to sign it, and he's supposed to sign it. And I guess Sarah there's supposed to have a copy of it, and he's supposed to have a copy of it. The copy's supposed to go to the board. Do I understand that correctly? Now, I would ask Mr. Cockrell at this time to produce any minutes, records, discussions, things signed between me and him. Now, I went in and visited Mr. Cockrell 10 times, yes, about 10 different things, and at no time did I, you know, when you go in, when you don't understand something, you don't have all your questions at hand. You understand what I'm saying? You go in, and not only that, gentlemen, I own several pieces of property, and there's several things went on, and the 10 different meetings were not for, or 10 different times that I visited that office were not for one particular piece of property. You know what I'm saying? There were about several different issues on different pieces of property and different things. Okay? So for Mr. Cockrell to say that, you know, I've had 10 informational meetings, according to this, I got a problem. I haven't had any meetings. Okay? No meaningful discussions that comply with the law.
So you haven't signed any?
Absolutely not. No, I would love to have a discussion about this stuff. In fact, I tried to inquire about this information. And when I failed to get it in, you know, I've asked for it in writing, John.
So we'll defer now to Jason and let him tell his side of it.
Yes, sir. I'll be happy to hear this.
Jason gets better looking every day. My name is Marilyn Min, and if I'm lucky enough, I'm going to be the property tax attorney representing Jason on several appeals, including those at the Indiana Board of Tax Review. And, you know, I could sit up here and I could talk to you about the appeals process, but honestly, we're before the Indiana Board of Tax Review on these appeals. And everybody has the right to appeal. When we are there, everyone's going to have an opportunity to have a substantive debate about the assessments. And I think that's the best time and the best place to do that instead of in this forum.
Have you had that chance, Mr. England,
To
appear before them? And
no, the IBTR hearings, no, we're not. I have not been able to get my IBTR hearings, which is the Indiana Tax Board of Review hearings yet.
so will he be eligible to?
Oh, they've been
set a
filed.
Oh, yes, they're filed.
They're filed, but then it's up to the state agency to set those for a hearing. And, you know, I can't speak for them, I don't know.
So that date's not been set yet?
No, sir.
How long is that?
sure it's probably backlogged with all the property tax issues.
You know, sometimes it takes 3 or 4 months, that's when I'm not prepared. Sometimes it takes longer than that. They have a limited staff, they have, I believe, 1 person down in the southern Indiana area. That's just whenever they schedule it, it will be scheduled.
You'll be notified of that date.
Absolutely.
I don't know much about tax appeals, taxing, I just pay taxes and that's it, but I've been told in the past it would be advantageous for somebody that has an appeal to have an appraiser to appraise what it is the question's about, to present to the board at that time, Ptboa or whoever the board is that will take care of this matter. Would that be wise for him to do that in between now and that date?
You know, it's certainly not necessary, and there are quite a few taxpayers and county assessors who do not have appraisals, and I still personally think they have a very good, fair, open-minded hearing and decision. But that is a piece of evidence that they certainly would accept.
But he has that choice to make.
He has
He
absolutely
chooses
that
that.
choice, yes.
How long do you think this is going to take before this comes up, ma'am?
When did you file?
Well, one of them is over a year old, and I just talked to her. They're supposed to, and they haven't set a date on that one.
Okay.
The other one, and that I would like to want to explain, I just didn't file a 131 because I was so frustrated and didn't understand what it even took. I had two. A 131 is me requesting the state to review what happens here at the Ptboa board. Well, you got to have some evidence to go into that thing. So I didn't file a 131 on the greenhouse last year because I didn't understand anything. I filed the 131 on the Campbellsburg property because I did have an appraisal. And yes, the GLGF states on their thing that appraisal is the best way. Appraisal for the proper date. Proper date is the best way to assist that thing. But I'm not here to discuss to you guys about those. I am here to discuss with you guys about the procedure. I mean, you guys have no ability to change state regulations. What the county commissioners have the ability to do is look at those members that they appoint to that Ptboa board and evaluate whether they are doing their job or not. That's what you guys have the ability to do. Am I understanding that correctly? I'm not asking you to evaluate the evidence that I'm going to take in front of the IBTR, which she will be the attorney, which incidentally us as citizens, taxpayers, are paying the bill all the way, thank you very much, when I can read the law right here that we can remove all those steps if we just follow the law that was set down in the beginning at the local level. We would not have to drag attorneys and everything else into this. But that's it. Don't get rank, I'm sorry. But no, so to discuss, the particulars with her, I understand you're an attorney then that will represent the county, will hire her to defend the county in the IBTR hearing, which will be relative to evidence. Okay, I'm not here to discuss evidence with you guys. I'm here to discuss the procedure that is going on in our county today as I experienced it. And I'm here to ask you guys to look at it, hear what I have to say, evaluate it, and do what you can do as county commissioners to make a change for the people.
We will do that the first year when appointments are made, and we really are not the board.
I understand, John.
Come forward, but we're willing to listen to you. We have, and we're happy that you came to explain how the process works. And hopefully, when you make this date, that everything will work out and it'll be done in a fair and equitable manner. And we'll consider your.
I would like to go on and finish my discussion, if you don't mind.
Well, I think we went
Okay,
out of
well,
our way to listen to you so far.
let me ask you guys to do something. And I would encourage a debate with Mr. Cockrell, face to face, man to man, in front of you guys. I got no issue with that, without attorneys.
No.
But no, what I would like you guys to do is before you can fairly evaluate whether the Ptboa board is doing their job, you got to understand what their job is. Is that not a fair assessment?
Well,
And I think if you educate yourself on the process by reading the law, it's pretty simple. I'm a simple man.
Jason, when will the next meeting of the Ptboa board be held?
Well, right now, everything is resolved except one appeal that they just received for the page 12 tax billing cycle. So we'll wait until more appeals come in and then try to schedule a bulk amount together.
When you have your next meeting, contact me and it's open to the public and I'll
It's open to the public and it's advertised in the newspaper.
And I want to apologize, the man that came in with the Ardensburg problem, I told him I would go to their next meeting and I didn't realize when I told him that it was tonight and it's our commissioners meeting. So I called his wife and apologized and told her that I had said I'd go to a meeting at the last meeting, but that wasn't possible because I forgot this was our regular meeting tonight, and so I couldn't go. But,
I mean, the only thing
but
the commissioners really can legally do is change the membership.
that's
exactly
what we said.
And that's
evaluate.
that's why
That is
you're,
exactly correct.
that's why you're here today.
And that's why I'm here, not only to, to educate you, so that when you pick the next set, there needs to be some understanding and some criteria.
And they have to be certified to.
You understand what I'm saying?
Some of them have to be
Part
certified.
of them, right.
Yeah.
And we go over the criteria of that also the first year.
I would be happy to come back 2 or 3 meetings in a row and give you a little piece of information each time, so as not to clutter up your time schedule all along.
Well, we'd appreciate
Well,
if you
Bert,
would
we've
come
got
back
the
after the
information.
meeting.
Okay?
This is the third set of these things I've got.
Okay? Do you
I
pretty much understand,
I know what it
Dave?
takes the Ptboa board to act and talk to people, we don't need educated by someone else outside.
Then
We're pretty well able to educate ourselves.
I would ask you to
The
take
one
this
thing
thumb drive.
I don't need it.
It is a recording of the Ptboa hearings,
We
the
got
actual
this.
Ptboa hearings, and listen to them.
We're doing all we can do. We're taking people, we're putting 3 people on a Ptboa board that we think is competent to handle the cases individually. We use our assessor's recommendation. We know the people that are on it, and we think they're professional people. And, I don't know of anything else that we need to do. Now, we will, so far, in the 3 years I've been on here, the only person that's really had a major problem with the Ptboa board, or with the assessing, is you. So something's wrong with that picture, to me.
I'd be happy to show you my evidence and show you why I have a problem.
I'm just
And that's
telling
what I've tried to do, say, folks,
Well, I
let me
understand.
look,
I
and here's
understand.
why I have a problem.
But that has a problem with me too, there's a lot of questions that need answered.
I'll be happy to answer
I
it.
agree.
Mr. Engler, we thank you.
There's questions I need to ask.
I'll
Is the
Not
Ptboa
you,
board,
Jason will
Is
contact
it-
me when your hearing comes up, I'll be
Public?
there. And
I
I'm
understand your
I'm
position.
sure everything will be done in a fairly and equitable.
Mr. Engler?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can go ahead and put that up on Indiana Proud if it's a public thing. And that way
Mr.
everybody will have
Rusty,
access to it at any
Come on up,
time.
sir.
I think Sarah wants her name spelling.
Yeah, I don't,
How do you
do you
spell
have a
your
card
name?
or a,
No, let me just give you the spelling right now.
okay,
The
I know how to
last-
spell Maryland, but I do know.
The last name is spelled Meigen. It's pronounced M-I-N.
Leinghe. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Rusty, it's all yours.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, my name is Eric Rusby. I'm a taxpayer I live down in Jackson County. I'm here to talk about the Ptboa as well. Commissioner Brown, I know that you said that you were only aware of one.
Apparently, we got another one.
Well, maybe that
I
just.
stand corrected, Bert.
Maybe some of the others are a little more timid than I am, I don't know. But I've been through the process. The same thing happened to me. I walked in to ask some questions. I was told that I had to have an appraisal.
Now, you walked in the assessor's office, you walked into the Ptboa board meeting,
The assessor's office.
assessor's office, okay.
I had one property at the time that I had noticed was that state law went to market value and use concept of properties should be assessed at what they're reasonably expected to sell for. Well, I have a fair number of properties in Washington County as well as in other counties, and I became aware that for some reason Washington County's assessments seemed to be the ones that I ran across, which were about 25 of them, were higher. They were inflated. And I was trying to figure out why that was, so I went in, I was told, well, you have to have an appraisal. And I go, well, I've been to other appeal hearings, never had to have an appraisal, but maybe I'm wrong. So I went back. In the end, I filed appeals for 11 properties. And I was immediately sent to the Ptboa. There was never an informal hearing, and that is part of the process. That's where you get together and you discuss, and he shows you the books, and you look at this, and you avoid the thing. Because the Ptboa, in our system of government, we have checks and balances. To keep any one branch of something getting out of control, there's another agency that comes down on top of it, and that's very important. You can have, assessments coming from a contractor like Tyler Technologies, and you have the assessor evaluating them and deciding what the assessed values are. But in the end, they're supposed to be what they would be reasonably expected to sell for, and here they're just higher. A lot of them, just for very quickly, I went on the website, I picked up 2 today. The Alta Kunsa plant across from John Jones on 60. That is assessed at $2.35 million. That sold in June, and it's right here, for less than $1 million. And that had been for sale for a long time. Then there was another example here where after I was sent directly to the Ptboa, there were no informal hearings, and I asked at the hearing, why did you send me directly here? Because I just wanted to talk about these properties. And he told me that I hadn't requested it. And I showed the paperwork that I filed that said this is a request for an informal hearing. Then he told me that I had them. And you can't have it both ways. And that's recorded. That's on the tape. Anyway, I went through the Ptboa. I had 11, 12 properties. I was given 1 hour, which is 5 minutes per property. And at the end of the meeting, I was told that I hadn't sufficiently proved. Well, I didn't have time to prove on these properties. But anyway, the process is flawed, and my point is it is very important to have checks and balances. Just like in the U.S., the government has the General Accounting Board, checks, things like that. Well, that needs to be, the Ptboa is the check and balance on the assessor's office. That's supposed to be an independent board that rules and says, hey, wait a minute. But in effect, what you have is you have 3 members. One of them is required to be a level 2 appraiser or above, and you have that. And then you have to have a Democrat and a Republican, and there's that breakdown. You can have a 5-member board. But unfortunately, and by ruling, Indiana law, the assessor is not allowed to have a vote on that Ptboa because that's the whole idea. It's supposed to be an independent board. But he sits over there and tells these people, who, by the way, have no training in this. They're not, one of them does. The others are not, they're not where the rubber meets the road. They're not real estate brokers. They're not bank loan officers. They're not appraisers. They're not people that deal in this. They're just there, and not one question was asked on all the properties. And at any time I said something, and I showed a reference to Indiana law, there was input there that, no, you can't listen to that, that's not, they were influencing that board. And that shouldn't be, we all understand the concept of taxation, and it's very important that it be fair and delivered across the board in a level field. And that's what the Ptboa is all about. So, enough of that. I did handouts too. But basically, this is my recommendations on what you can do as commissioners. You can go back to the 5-member Ptboa board, and rather than asking the assessor who he recommends to be on that board, which is kind of like asking the fox who he'd like guarding the hen house, you need to have independent people, and they need to be qualified. So what I recommend you do is you put an ad in the paper in the legal notices. You say that we're appointing 2 more members. You have the ability to appoint 3 members. And one has to be a level 2 or above. And then you also have the home rule concept that you can go above that as well, which you may or may not want to do. But so you get these applicants and you interview them and you ask them the questions because they are the counterbalance to the assessor's office. Because what happens is if something is out of balance, the word gets out and people start to lose the love. And when I deal in a lot of counties, and I've been before a couple of appeals. I always, with all the properties, have one or two, that there's something wrong. So I go, we straighten it out. But I've never been to one here where I was thrown right to the Ptboa, and it was like I was in an Iranian court. And it was a foregone conclusion, and your only step then is to go to the Indiana Board of Tax Review. And that's not the way it should be. It should be set to be resolved in the informal hearing. That's where most of it should happen. And then if it does go to the next one, you need an independent panel that's not being influenced by the people that may or may not have created the problem. There might not be a problem. I'm not saying that this goes on. I'm just saying that you need these checks and balances. It's very important. And so I put my recommendations there. Go to a 5-member board. 2 are appointed obviously by the city and 3 by the county. Make them have some qualifications, not just they need to know about property values because that's the law. They need to know, some real estate background, some loan brokerage background, something that deals with appraisals and what properties would sell for, because that's the law.
We had a 5-member board prior to, when was that, July of last year, I believe?
Or it was last year.
Or the year before, when the state changed, where and as a cost-cutting measure, because we have to pay these people.
Well, like so many things, when you start shaving a little money, sometimes it's not a good thing. But I'd recommend go back to the 5-member board, require that they know something about assessments and appraisals and stuff like that. And don't ask for recommendations from the very side of the checks and balances that you want, because you want them to be independent. They need to review the facts and make their own decision. And that's basically it in a nutshell. I actually didn't.
Other than our appointments and the members that are going to be on the Ptboa board, that's really the only jurisdiction.
I know. I know.
Right?
Right, that's what the commissioners.
I'm trying to head this off because I see a problem. We have a lot of houses out there where the grass is this tall and the air conditioning system's missing in the back and back windows have been broken in. And that's not good because that has already brought a bad element into our thing. We need to get those houses back out there, back on the market, people living in them. So a lot of times the banks are kind of messed up right now. The first people that can do it are investors that come in and get those houses fixed in and up again and rent them. And one of the things you're supposed to do on rentals, Indiana code says the preferred method is your gross rent multiplier. Our assessor's office doesn't even have one. They're required to by law. And that would be the way to appraise investment property, because that's one of the 3 ways of appraising properties is the income approach. If you can if the assessments are so high that the taxes are so high, an investor says, look, I can't give back half the rents just to pay the property tax on it. I can't keep the place up looking good if that's the situation. So, we need to get a gross rent multiplier. It's easy enough. You can canvass. Indiana code even says where to go to get it. And I don't know why we skipped that process, but it would be very helpful, especially getting these properties back, because there is a big rental market right now.
Where do you live, Mr. England?
I live down in Jackson Township, in Martinsburg.
Close to Martinsburg?
Yes, 2 miles west. Right there, there's a road from Martinsburg to Highway 135, just north of Palmyra. But anyway, I thank you for listening. I don't mean to point fingers at anything. We have a little bit of a problem here, and there are a couple things you can do to help bring a resolution about it.
Appreciate you.
Would you have an extra one in recommendation?
Oh, I have tons of them. I'm sorry I did it that way. I printed 10 out. And in the back is a little bit of background. And, does anyone, why did I know we're under?
Me. Thank you. I'm a groupie.
Anybody else?
Rick, you wanna come up and bring us